Neas. It's the KC Arts Beat Report. I'm Patrick Neas. My goodness, do I have a special guest today? He's going to be in town on May 28th for a big concert at the Folly Theater with a couple of other amazing artists as well. And we're going to be talking to him in just a moment. But first, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to the KC Arts Beat YouTube channel and also subscribe to our Substack. You can do that by going to kcartsbeat.substack.com and follow us and like us on Facebook. Well, it's my great honor right now to say hello to the Grammy Award winning violinist Joshua Bell. Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Good morning. Nice to be with you.
It's a real pleasure to talk to you, Joshua. Now, you're no stranger to Kansas City. You've been here many times, haven't you?
I have. I love coming there. I love the theater. I love the orchestra. One of my closest friends, Michael Stern, has been music director there, and it's not too far from my hometown. I'm from Indiana, so it's kind of
Ah,
feels like home coming to Kansas City. I love the food. I love the people. So yeah, I can't wait to come back with two friends that I haven't been there with before, so it's good. It's going to be exciting for us.
and the love, I can tell you, Joshua, is totally requited. So tell us about the two big artists you're going to be performing with on May 28th.
Well, in the past, I've come there in recital with piano and with orchestra, but this time I'm coming as a piano trio. We are not a formed piano trio with a name. With a name, we are just our individual selves. That's me, Joshua Bell, and the legendary Russian pianist Evgeny Kissin, and one of my favorite musicians and probably best friends in the world, the cellist, incredible Steven Isserlis. So we've come together. We Steven I've known for 40 years. He's my longest chamber association. And Evgeny Kissin I met in New York years ago, but we first played together at the Verbier Festival in Switzerland. And all three of us met and played together there. And we thought we came up with this program of probably the two most iconic Russian trios to perform the Shostakovich and the Tchaikovsky, and we thought it would be a good program for the three of us to do. And we did a few concerts in Paris and Prague and London, and now we're bringing it to just two places, Kansas City and Carnegie Hall.
Wow. Well, we are really thrilled and privileged to have you guys do this program here. Now, in addition to those two trios you mentioned, you're also doing some music I'm not familiar with. I'm not even familiar with the composer. Can you tell us about
Well, I
Samuel
wasn't either.
Wachowski? Yeah, oh, real okay.
Brasovsky, yeah, Brasovsky is. I actually, no, I cannot give you too much information about him, but it was brought to my attention by my. I think it was Stephen discovered it. It's for the same orchestration as, as a piano trio. It's a short folk melodies, old sort of Jewish folk melody based, and the reason for it, it's a kind of um, festive. Festive sort of little dance. It's called, I think, Dance Fantastique. What the reason for it is, it kind of sets up some of the themes for these two iconic pieces. The Shostakovich and the Tchaikovsky were both in some way related to Jewish themes. Um, and so it just kind of sets it programmatically. It sets that up, and it doesn't have the same weight as the other two. It actually offsets it a little bit because I mean you can't think of two more heavy, deep pieces than the Shostakovich and the Tchaikovsky. They're just emotionally draining but captivating and gorgeous, and but they take a lot out of you. Those pieces, they're real journeys, both
Well,
of
the
them.
Tchaikovsky,
Almost too much to put on the same program because each one of them is kind of so iconic. But to put them both on the same program is I mean, it's wonderful. I hope for the audience, but for us as players, is to be able to do these genius pieces on the same program.
well, I know that Tchaikovsky is a really big, juicy piece. And for anybody who loves Tchaikovsky's orchestral music, I think you'll like this piece as well because it has that Tchaikovsky style, doesn't it? Or what would
Well,
you
I would
say
hope
about this?
so. It was written by Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, yes,
Um,
right.
and I'd hate to ever pigeonhole Tchaikovsky, and somehow he's often in a way misrepresented. I think because he's popular, that sometimes people think it's sort of schmaltzy music or this or that. I mean, this is some of the deepest music you can imagine. It's very um, it has, I guess, elegiac, if that's the right word. It doesn't end with a big Tchaikovsky bang, but neither does his Pathetique symphony, his Symphony Number 6.
Mhm.
But it takes you to great depths, emotional depths, and it has this exciting, incredibly exciting climaxes, which he's known for. I mean, just goosebump-inducing climaxes, and beautiful melodies, and it's you feel like when you hear the Tchaikovsky trio, you've just been through this epic piece, and it's really one of my favorites. The Shostakovich was written, in response to some of the horrors of World War II, and I hate to say that, because I hate to say, uh, horrors, because it's also beautiful music. It's somehow the great composers were able to express these death and tragedy, and yet be incredibly beautiful. I mean, I think Romeo and Juliet of Tchaikovsky, another piece that's tragic but yet just gorgeous. So that's why I always argue when modern composers say, "Well, we live in ugly times, so my music should sound it should be ugly." I disagree with it.
Uh-huh. Well, it sounds like after a person goes to this concert, they will really know that they have attended a concert. This has got some real heft to it and some real beauty as well. So that's going to be really amazing. The Shostakovich Piano Trio Number 2. And that was written in 1944 before the war was even over, right? I mean, so.
That's right. The war hadn't been over, but a lot of the atrocities had begun to be revealed, and I believe Shostakovich wrote it in response to a particular friend. Actually, I'm not going to give the musicological history. I'm afraid I'm going to get it wrong. But yeah, it was written right during World War II, and we do talk about our times today being ugly and scary today. Can you imagine what it was like living during World War II? I mean, it's hard to even imagine. And Shostakovich being Russian, and the tragedies there, and the Nazis, and all at the same time, he poured all this into his music, and represented, when I mentioned the Jewish theme. I mean, he represented the the idea, which only really music can represent, the idea of tragedy and joy at the same time. It's something that I feel like Schubert was able to do. Like, he could do a song that could show smiling through tears, for instance, and that's something the Jewish people had to do. Even in the concentration camps, they had to find ways to dance and to make music and to find joy in the midst of the worst scenario in the history of mankind.
Yeah, absolutely. Joshua, I was working in a classical record store here in Kansas City, Classical Westport, when your first album came out. And we had a big poster of it in the store. And
Oh my God.
yeah, it was with the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields. I believe it was the Bruch and Mendelssohn
Yes.
concertos. And I also think it's cool that your very first album was with the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields, and now you're the music director of the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields.
Yeah, it's kind of full circle now. I wouldn't have imagined, I was 18 at the time when I made that record, um, that they would now be my sort of. I'd never worked with them before. I was thrown in the studio with Sir Neville Mariner and the Academy Singer. I mean, it was a legendary orchestra. I heard them on the radio my whole childhood because they made more records than any other orchestra in existence. And but now the past 15 years I've been their music director, and they're like my musical family. So it's kind of, yeah, it is kind of cool, kind of full circle.
You've done some amazing things throughout your amazing career. You know, besides your concertizing, you've done some experimental things like playing in the subway. So you have a really bird's eye view of the classical music world. Has it changed much over the 4 decades, or how, or if it has, how has it changed? Do you
It's
think
hard
it's
to.
more popular or less
I
popular?
think it hasn't changed at all. People are still saying that it's impossible for classical music to survive any longer. They've been saying it for hundreds of years. Nothing changes
Yes.
because I think it's the world has changed the way I'm scared about certain aspects of it. The AI and actually, but with the whole AI, which by the way, I use plenty myself, but classical music is actually I think is the last place to be touched by it because in fact, the greatest antidote to the anxiety we feel from everything being so artificial in the world. I think what we need and what we crave is to go to a classical concert where where there's really no space for it.
Joshua, I really appreciate you taking time and sharing your thoughts with us about this concert. Again, it's going to be May 28th, 7 p.m. at the Folly Theater, presented by the Harriman-Jewell Series. There might be a few tickets left, or maybe you can be put on a waiting list. You can do that by going to hjseries.org or calling 415 5025, area code 816. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to the KC Artsbeat YouTube channel. And again, subscribe to our Substack at kcartsbeat.substack.com. Follow us on Facebook. I'm Patrick Neas, and this has been the KC Artsbeat Report.